Paul Oakley Stovall is known for his storytelling, everywhere from the stages of Broadway to the steps of the White House. And today, he's sharing with us how leaning in to what makes you unique and saying yes to life will bring you endless opportunities. Paul Oakley Stovall right here in the Queen City. I'm here with the king himself. Thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm back again.
Listen, and it's like you never left, and I'm so glad because today we are getting to dive into so many things. And I have to say this is probably one of my most challenging interviews to prepare for because not only as a person of Broadway, Hollywood, stage, screen, White House steps, you've worn so many hats, but I wanted to talk to you today about the thread that ties them all, the thread that is Paul. So do you feel like we can do that together today?
Yeah, and you warned me about
I did.
Sometimes
I warned
you
you.
get weepy, and just when you started to say it, I started thinking about the thread and going, oh boy, here we go. Yeah.
Well, so can I just tell you a thread that I see in you is the fact that you've tied so many stories together while developing the person that you are, that you have become, and then also developing the people around you. So anything that I've seen you do, any project I've seen you take on from the short time we've known each other is that you are always talking about the people around you. I'll ask you a question about you, and you immediately start talking about everybody else. So today I'm going to challenge you to let us get to know you if you're open to that.
Okay, I'm going to try.
Okay.
But that happens through how I feel about others. That's how you learn about me. So just put me, check me if I start going off.
Okay, I'll do that. So I want to kick it off with a quote that I think that that we can all apply to our own lives. And it was in an interview when you were talking about Immediate Family, your incredible production. You said that we are all archaeologists on a dig. And if you try to do things too quickly, you're going to break it. And so I wanted to start there because on your dig of life, finding out who you are. But let's start from the beginning. So what started your dig? We all know you from Broadway. Maybe we know you as a Tony Award winner. Maybe we know you as working with the former First Lady President.
I call her Forever First Lady.
Forever
it's an
First
F.
Lady.
I use the F to be forever. Yeah.
Listen, yes. So working for former First Lady, forever First Lady, Michelle Obama, and creating your own stories with the likes of Felicia Rashad and incredible people that we know. But what started your dig?
Okay, it's a two-parter. Is that okay?
Yeah, we got time.
And the first part is a story my mother tells me about myself. That I vaguely remember it, but she said whenever I did, and now she likes to tell it at family gatherings or when she comes to visit me and my friends to try to embarrass me, but it doesn't embarrass me. She said when I would go grocery shopping, I'd be putting the groceries away, and I'd put the bag of oranges into the crisper, and I'd turn my back, and before I knew it, you had taken it out and were walking up and down the street in the neighborhood giving the oranges out to the people who lived in homes that you thought were less fortunate. Even though you couldn't put your finger on saying it like that, you knew what kids were hungry, right? And you knew what kids were in trouble. And you would just go and see them out sitting outside again. And I would want to be so angry, but how can you be angry about that personality trait in your child? So my thread started with always somehow innately understanding that when you give it out, karma works that way. You don't know how it will immediately, it may not immediately come back, but you put the goodness out.
Yeah.
That's our mission. That's our human mission. That's it. Flash forward to I'm 21 years old. I graduate from acting school. I get my first professional job. 6 days into rehearsal, the apartment I was in was broken into and I was shot in both my legs and I bled out and died. The neighbors, who weren't really my neighbors, I was working out of town. It's like if I had come to do a show in Charlotte, I didn't know who was across the hall. Somebody heard the shots, probably waited long enough because they may have had children, they didn't know what was happening while I'm across the hall bleeding out. And when they felt it was safe, they peeked across, I imagine, because I never got to thank these people. They saw me, they called an ambulance, I was revived. I spent 6 months in a wheelchair, but I got back to myself. And that thread for me was the beginning of no fear of what comes next. You never know when your number's up. So live your life to the fullest, including your mistakes, right? embrace every part of you, knowing that it's more important to say yes to life because you just don't know when any random thing could happen. I think that's the beginning threads of how I go about my life.
Yeah. So saying yes to life, and there's so many things that you've said yes to, and I would say you've had the opportunity to say yes to, but like you said, it was that karma that gave you that opportunity, that kindness that gave you those opportunities.
Right. You say yes to the small things too, not just to, I have this opportunity to be in Hamilton, I have this opportunity to be in that, but saying yes to an opportunity to help someone who's struggling with reaching something off the shelf or whatever it might be.
Right.
Even the small things. Say yes to life.
Yeah.
Sometimes you say yes to too many things.
And that's how you wind up here.
But you learn, you learn like, I said yes to that adventure and that didn't turn out well. And now I'm stuck, and my bank card doesn't work and I'm in Bordeaux and France. I don't mean that to be like my glamorous life, but
I was like, I thought you were telling the story about me. I was like, yeah, because that happened to me in Bordeaux when I just, things happen. Yeah.
And you think, my rough life. But no, that's just that is the next adventure.
Right.
So learning to also take the ups and downs, and they're all really just a piece of the same tapestry that makes up your life.
So continuing to pull on that yes thread, when you were coming back from this incredible recovery, like, you had to have been on this high. We've had so many incredible Broadway stars on here before talking about getting that first real I made it job. So how did you go from you are in a wheelchair, you've been assaulted in your own apartment, to I'm going to get back on stage and be part of one of the biggest productions that U.S. Broadway history has ever known?
I think that for me, it was moment to moment. I could never have imagined that years later there would even be a Rent or a Hamilton. I fell into Rent as well. I've fallen into some of the most hitting the zeitgeist shows, and I don't know how. But what I do know is when you're trying to learn how to walk again, when you are struggling at such a young age, a tender age, with the painkillers, and that can turn into addiction. We're here at Community Matters that helps people deal with these. And you were just saying, it can happen to anyone. And I was, I didn't even think of this then, but it's true. So I'm struggling with that. It was just, can I live one more day? Let me try and live one more day. They were having to take blood every 6 hours to check my coagulation time. So I was being, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't. Right. So all it was for me was the next day. Oh, my leg feels a little better. Okay, let's get to the next day. And that's really the secret. That's not such a secret.
It's just taking it.
You just take it one day at a time. Some of these old adages last long for a reason.
Right. We've talked about that before. It sounds like a cliche, and it's something that's been around for a long time. But there's a reason for that. So, when you got back to that stage, what was that feeling like for you? Because I can only imagine doubling that feeling of, okay, I've quote made it. I've gotten this job. I'm back on the boards. But also I'm alive and I'm standing here.
Oh, I can tell you when it was. There's a show called Once on This Island, another kind of zeitgeist show, and I ended up in the national tour of that. And it's a heavy dancing show, and it was wildly popular at the time. And that was my feeling. I didn't know anyone in it because the time that I was away recovering, the people that I sort of knew in the business had moved on or moved to different things. So all these strangers, and I felt I had to prove myself, and they didn't know what had happened to me. All they knew was he got the part, so let's see what he can do.
Right.
And that was when I knew at least for now, I'm going to be okay as far as performing in entertainment.
And so going through multiple different shows, I think this is the time I'm going to ask you to brag on yourself a little bit, because there have been multiple Broadway stages that you have graced. And I also want to point out, if you guys can't tell with us sitting here, Paul is the only person that's been on the show that's taller than me, I think, besides my dad. So, high fives for that.
I gotcha.
I love seeing that on stage. But did you feel like there were extra eyes on you just because you do have this presence of just your physical self?
You know what it's like. People say things to me and they don't mean anything by it. You have to, again, you get old enough to go, okay, I know what you mean. Oh, you're just, I mean, how could I miss you? You're so, and it's like, no, the reason you are watching me so much is because I'm talented and I know what I'm doing. Because I've seen a 5'0" woman take over the stage. Patti LuPone is 5'0", you know, and she's a superstar. So the height, yes, I have presence, but I have presence.
Right.
Haven't you seen tall people who?
Yes. Yes.
You know, being tall in and of itself does not give you that presence and magnetism.
Yeah.
So, but I did have to learn it. You know, I didn't love my height so much because it made me stick out. But then you learn the thing about you that sticks out is the thing you embrace. That's the thing that makes you special.
Yeah. And so, and you really embrace that.
Yeah.
You know, on the gram, you are Tall Power Paul.
Tall Power Paul.
Which I
Tall
love.
Power Paul.
So embracing that part of you. And I wanted to have this conversation. You mentioned reaching things on the shelves. It's also a rule of our people that we will help you with anything on the shelves or the overhead compartment. It's a rule of our people. We will always help you. You need those post toasties, we got you. But did that, stepping into that power and even just naming it on Instagram, what did that change inside of you? Like, what are these little moments where you felt like you got to step even more and more into yourself? Because you have to own that spot on the stage. We've talked to other Broadway performers before, and you have to own that space, not in a you know, overconfident way, but just in a, I'm meant to be on this spot. I'm meant to be in this room.
Well, you just said it. I began to use it to my advantage rather than trying to get the part in spite of being tall or trying to, you know, maybe I can fit in with this other person, you know, lean down a little bit.
Right.
I began to say, you will cast me because of this. You know, and this will be, I will make you rethink what you were going to do with this role.
Right.
And say, we never thought he could be super tall and the other role would be that. But okay, that works. So it's all a matter of shifting your mindset. And I tell you, it goes back to surviving that terrible incident. I was given a second chance, and I wasn't going to take it lightly. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you said, and we all have that opportunity, I think, at any time to just say, I'm no longer going to take life happening to me for granted. Like, I'm going to be an active participant
In my
here
life.
in this life. And something that I also think is so interesting about you is that you write a lot about life. So most recently in Immediate Family, just kind of giving us a window into the lives of other people. So when you were an actor, and you are still an actor, but when you started acting, did you see writing come as naturally, or was that something that was unexpected for you?
God, it's like, don't take this the wrong way, everyone. Were you in the shower with me this morning? Because I was in the shower thinking,
well, that's how I was lit for this.
I was like, maybe she's going to ask me, and I got to be ready to talk about this shift into writing. So when I was coming up and I started getting roles, everything's going well. I'm working with Andre DeShields, Tanya Pinkins. The roles are coming. I was still noticing that I'm a square peg shoving myself into a circle. And I want to write things that I don't see my family, I don't see my friends, I don't see myself per se. So I decided to write my heart into existence. Now, I, you know, for those studied playwrights who got their degrees and, you know, hey, all power to you. But I had mentors, I had advisors that I would go to about playwriting. A lot of plays try and tell you how to feel. I like to write plays that say, do you see anything familiar?
Yes.
Now you go home and feel it with the person you came to see the play with. And I don't want to minimize what I do in my writing and say, oh yeah, I just write great dialogue or I just write slice of life things. I have a point of view, but I try not to hammer it down.
Yeah.
I want to leave space for every heart in the audience to take it how they take it, to latch onto a character that they relate to.
Yeah. That was something when I spoke to you about Immediate Family, and I was speaking with the actress who was playing an eldest daughter.
Oh, Evie, Christina.
Yes, and everything she was saying, I was like, me too, girl, me too, girl.
I remember that.
Because it was so identifiable with me. So like you said, it's almost like you're sitting us right on the outside of a window when people are playing cards, when they are having these arguments with their family. We all think our family is really something else, you know, and then we find out when you create plays like this that every family has that something. So you going from being an actor and then also in writing this, I want to talk about how you feel like you write differently? Because some people are just playwrights. They might not have ever been on the stage.
Right.
What changed for you that you said, okay, if I was portraying these characters, did that dive into that at all?
That absolutely was my only way in, actually. So what I needed to work on, and what I guess I still need to work on, because none of us are perfect in our field, I could write a character like nobody's business. I could spin great dialogue, because being an actor for so long, I knew what the character would say or how that would work. But constructing a web and a whole story, that was something I needed to work on. So yes, being an actor has helped me with dialogue. Working in politics and dropping it and going into other fields, performing on stage as a singer, that has helped me with structuring story, because I see a bigger picture.
Right.
And just getting older, when death comes to you, or the illness of a parent, when things happen that are bigger than,
Right.
you're the cool language and the snappy dialogue.
Right. Kind of gives you even more depth.
And perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to challenge yourself. A lot of my first plays were very modern dialogue. But now I've written a play about Phyllis Wheatley set in the 1700s. I just co-adapted James Baldwin's Giovanni's Room, set in the 50s in Paris. So, I have a hold on dialogue, and now I'm starting to see how to structure themes in a play, and maybe something comes back once, twice, third time, it lands on an audience, understanding human behavior, reading up on philosophy and stuff, and how do humans react to seeing entertainment. How to, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's manipulative, but there is a structure to, we have 3 chakras. There is something to us that is universal that you can tap into as a writer.
Yeah, mind, body, and soul. I mean, there's all those threes. There's all those threes that always do make a lot of sense. Now, I'm going to circle back just for a second because you brought it up. Working in politics. So, give me just so everybody, in case you didn't just do a huge internet dive like me, give me the little snapshot of your timeline, because your political life is so interesting. We mentioned you said forever First Lady Michelle Obama, but weaving that into your Broadway, your theater, your singing, your performing, how did this even come up in life?
Okay, should I even talk fast, or? Okay, here we go.
He's like 40 and a bunch of years ago.
Let's here we go. The biggest roles hadn't come yet. I was in New York struggling as an actor, but it was a good struggle. And I was working in retail. And
where did you work? Do you mind me asking?
At the Container Store.
I was like, Banana Republic, Tommy Bahama. I got you.
Container Store, 6th Avenue and 19th Street.
Anybody can come up in like media, theater. We were attended bar. We all worked in retail. Like we all.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you got to have the struggle.
Yeah. So, Container Store, I had to move to a smaller place out in Jersey City because I couldn't afford the one on the Container Store salary. Although I love the Container Store.
Shout out to the Container Store.
Give me free stuff.
Sponsor Paul.
Sponsor me. So, a guy who worked there said, "Hey, I'm quitting because I'm going to go work for this candidate, Senator Obama, for president." And I'm like, "Who?" And he was like, "I thought you were from Chicago. Don't you know who that is?" Oh, and I faked it, like, "Oh, yeah, kind of." But I was telling him Hillary was going to win, so why are you going to quit this great Container Store job? Fast forward, Obama begins to become who he's becoming in the campaign. And my friend calls me, and he's at a very loud rally, I think it was Corpus Christi, and said, "Hey, we're going to Philadelphia in a few days. We need some volunteers. I know you're still in New York. Can you get there and help out?" I did that. I guess I did like more than was asked of me as a volunteer, and I guess it was noticed by someone. And I'm really flashing forward. So, DM me on Instagram, I'll tell you the whole story. And I think that once I had that sense of what this couple was trying to do, I witnessed it firsthand. So it's one thing to be back when Facebook had just come out, everybody was a Facebook keyboard warrior.
Oh, yeah.
It's one thing to talk a lot of mess. And I was getting very annoyed with my actor friends and all of my friends who were just, well, then get up and do something.
Right.
So I said, well, who am I to say that to them if I'm not willing to do it? So I told my agents, don't send me out for anything.
Wow.
I think I'm going to put the career aside.
Okay.
And I was scared to death. Because in acting, you are forgotten quickly.
Right.
It's over.
You're only as good as your last show.
So I put it aside and took this job that actually paid less than Container Store, but they took care of flights and hotels, so it was great. For an actor, you're like, what?
Traveling.
Fly
Here
me
we
around,
go.
travel.
Yeah. I get my own bed. Let's go.
I get to go see other cities.
Yeah.
And the work was like the tech week and previews and opening night of a show, but condensed into, because you have to set up the rally, set up the seats, set up the flags, set up the thing. If they were going to do interviews, and since some of the people knew I was in the media kind of world, I got assigned to that section of things. So I'd meet with this gentleman and I'd say, well, she's going to come in this door. And, we need to put arrows on the floor so she knows exactly where to go and sit, because she gets no rehearsal.
Yeah.
She has to walk in with her notes from the car and just come in and hope, make eye contact with me or whoever the site lead is and come on in and do her thing or do his thing. And it was amazing to watch. And so for me, no matter what the outcome was, because it wasn't even an official job, we were called advanced associates. No matter what the outcome was, I was sitting here learning grace under pressure. Don't let anything get to you, good or bad.
Right.
Don't let things take you off your center. Little did I know I was preparing myself to then be in Hamilton, to then write Immediate Family, to then handle these big situations. From watching, not the first president, but a first president, the first black president, not the first lady, but a first. And next thing I know, I'm playing the first president. Again, the kid with the bag of oranges and the 21-year-old who decided to survive one day at a time. There I was in Istanbul. I'm in Kosovo. I didn't know what Kosovo was, and I've considered myself a learned geography's I nerd out on it. But there was my life changing, and then acting was kind of like, I didn't even miss it. Yeah. My goal was to help them. And then, of course, the Charlotte Democratic National Convention happened, and I met Tom Gabbard, and I got a little slice of being pulled back into the arts, and because Tom helped me out with some cars and travel, transportation we needed for some of the celebrities that were here. And he just was looking at me like, but aren't you the guy that was trying to write a play or being in shows? How are you doing this now? Because life will take you places where you don't know, and you can do more than you ever thought you could do. We're very powerful that way. Yeah. So I was finding that out, and now I kind of just live in it. It's not always glamorous, of course. I was telling my beautiful friend Yasmin back there that people look at my life, and we also curate versions of ourselves online that aren't necessarily the real deal.
Right.
And she said, oh, you travel, and I said, most nights I'm sitting on my couch alone. I'm thinking about getting a dog, but I'm sitting on my couch trying to figure out, am I caught up with The Pit, or whatever TV show. Right. My girl Issa Briones is on The Pit, and she used to be Peggy in Hamilton with me, so I'm just like, oh, let me see what she's doing.
Right, let me see what my friends are doing.
People think it's, I'm on the couch.
So, but I think that reality of just lives, like even the reality that you got to see when you were working for the White House, people that were going to habitat the White House, what kind of connection did you suddenly feel to somebody who maybe would intimidate us if they sat down here? Did you just, how did that just show you that people, no matter how important they were?
Great story. And I think another one's going to pop into my head because I'm tipping my tongue, but I'll start with this one with Mrs. O. She was doing, I'll never call her by her first name, like Mrs. O, Mrs. Obama. Yeah. That is her name to me. She was doing a trip in Portland, Maine, and it was a smaller event, so that we had a smaller team, and I was handling more than I usually would. And I thought, on this trip, I'm going to really have some FaceTime with her. So I think because I'm kind of doing site and press, and I went and bought some new shoes.
Yes.
Now, tall people know. Do not buy new dress shoes and think you're going to wear them that first day and be on your feet all day, because our job was on game day, you're up at 4 a.m. and you're working till midnight. So I put these new shoes on. They looked great. I was doing this a little. I was doing that. We have to do that a lot.
Yep.
But if we like them, we're going to buy them.
Yes. We'll Celine Dion right into those shoes.
Right.
I will make the shoes
We will make
fit.
it work.
Yes.
Halfway through my day, which is only about noon, she arrives. I'm leading her to her hold room where will hold before she goes out and makes a speech. And she just casually said, "How you doing? Good to see you. Oh, you're doing the both thing. Oh, great." And I said, "Oh, my feet are killing me." She's like, "Yeah, long day." I said, "Oh, I got these new shoes because I wanted to." And she went, "Well, that's your fault, dummy. You should have broke them in." And I was like, "Huh? You're not supposed to talk to me that." But you are, because to me that meant she's like, "I know who you are now. I've seen you enough times. I know you're chill.
Right.
I can comment to you what I really feel." So that was one of my first. Of course, I've ended up meeting lots of people because who wanted to be around them. So I've ended up meeting lots of famous people. But just that comment made me be like, oh yeah, all of us have to eat and breathe and drink water to live. And all of us are just people who sometimes get thrown into extraordinary circumstances or who create a world around them where they will, she went to Princeton and got great grades. She went on to, was at Harvard or Yale and got great grades. She got the law firm. She did that for herself, but she put herself in position for extraordinary things to come her way, but she never changed. At least it seems to me that. And we were talking about how it's nice to see her really stepping into her voice.
Yeah, because now
no
we get to
constraints.
see her, especially after her book, and we get to see her even more impressed. But you and I were talking about her being on the Sherry Shepherd show, and it looks so much more like she's talking to girlfriends and things like that, and just how she's opened up her own conversations about real things that are happening to real women, which is just such a connecting point. But I think something that I would be interested to hear if you took that into your writing in that second phase of you after, like you said, you went from working with the family who was bringing the first Black president to America to playing the first president that America ever knew. So how did this go back with you to stage?
Well, first it came back through my acting. And in the writing I'll address. But first it came back to my acting. As I was saying, I learned how to, just from watching, from the distance I was watching from, believe me, I repeat, everyone, I was not sitting around, hanging around with the Obamas playing cards and hanging out.
Hey, you were closer than the rest of us were.
Well, yeah, but I don't want to get the wrong idea.
Yes.
I was, from what I watched from a distance, I watched the poise, the grace under pressure. So it helped me when I auditioned. It helped me realize this is not the end of the world. What this person thinks of me or what I know my talent. It helped me once I would get a role with, I'm going to take my time and analyze and figure out what I'm doing. You will not rush me. So it helped me with that kind of thing as an actor. I became a stronger person with what I wanted to do as an actor. Only now is it moving into my writing. I'm working a lot with Felicia Rashad. We brought Immediate Family here, and I think we're bringing it back.
Yes.
Am I breaking news right now?
Yes, you can be breaking news.
I think we might be bringing it back. Felicia, who we all know who she is and her skill level and the depth of her knowledge, she's really on me with details in the writing. Like, that's real and snappy, but that's like just air. That's like popcorn. What are you trying to actually say? And that makes me revolve back to those days of, what were they trying to do? I was in such a, just trying to get the work done. I had these blinders on. But when I think about what was the mission, what you do has to have a thought process behind it, a beginning, middle, and end. What's the goal in the distance? Yeah. So that's what's now helping with my writing.
Yeah, and I think you make a great point. Sometimes too, and I like it. Like sometimes I want the joke, I want the quip. What's the Instagram version of whatever this is, versus
that's it.
Versus what is that 3-part documentary, and like finding that balance to create your performance. So when let's flash forward a little bit, and you're going on stage as George Washington in Hamilton. I mean, I can't think of a better work study than following the future president, which is incredible. But how did you feel stepping into that role? Which, by the way, one of my favorite songs on the soundtrack is George Washington. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Because people like us listen to that in their car. It could be Pitbull or it could be Lin-Manuel Miranda. You never know if you get in my car what you're going to be hearing.
Right. But so we'll thank Lynn and Alec Lockamore and Tommy Kail and Annie Blankenbuehler first for the material, because it's right there for you. It's. I don't want to use the word perfect, but it is very easy for an actor to slide into that because the roadmap is there. How did I feel? Well, I was replacing the guy who was the current George Washington. This is a great story. And I was supposed to have 6 more weeks before I debuted. So I'm there in DC rehearsing behind the scenes and watching the show at night, rehearsing during the day, and then watching the show to watch, And then one day we had a rehearsal on stage, and the assistant to the stage manager came up to me and said, "Kim wants to talk to you." And I thought, I did something wrong. I sang a wrong lyric. I hope it's not the end of the world. Theater on this level, people might be kind of like, so I was like ready for it. And she said, "Listen, the guy who plays George Washington, he had a root canal. He went up to New York to get a root canal and it got infected. So he's out." And I was like, "Oh no." But they have a plethora of understudies.
Sure.
So she said his first understudy is going on as Alexander Hamilton tonight. And his second understudy is on vacation.
So
I'm still not getting it.
Your math is all of a sudden not even mathing.
The math ain't mathing. I'm like, "Oh, that's terrible. So we must be canceling the show or something." That's what I'm thinking. Like, we're canceling the show. And she said, "So we're going to put you on." And I was like, on what? On fire? What are you putting me on? While she's talking to me, the wardrobe woman is sort of just wrapping things around me.
And you're like,
"What is happening?" So I had 90 minutes. So when it's kind of unfair for good and bad. I got shot out of a cannon. I didn't have time to contemplate and, email my friends about how rehearsal went this day and, call my parents. I'm excited to do this. You're on.
Oh my gosh.
And that grace under pressure came into play. Nothing will throw me. I know what to do. And it kind of brought Hamilton down to it's only a play.
Right. I know my instrument.
I cannot mess up because this is not my doing. Just do what you do. And I kind of got lucky. It was the best way to get thrown in.
Yeah.
Because once I accomplished that, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I kind of agree. It's kind of like when we talk about TV when it's like recording, or if you're doing something like a movie where you have a lot of takes. I think sometimes just getting out there and doing it live is because you just go.
Yeah, a movie, and you're not responsible for the edit. I mean, you, I think, do your own editing probably. But in a lot of TV and movies, somebody else, this guy is cutting it. And you don't, as an actor, have no control over what your performance will actually look like. So you can just do anything.
Move about the cabin.
On stage, no, they're watching you.
Yeah.
And in the case of Hamilton or Jana, they've been listening to the soundtrack in the car all the way there.
Exactly.
And they want it to sound like that.
Yes.
So, yeah, there was that pressure, but I just didn't get fazed by it because of the different things I'd been through. And it brought Hamilton and all of it down to a real human level.
What would you want people to know about actually being a Broadway performer? Because especially something like Hamilton, where it's not necessarily just the singing and the delivery, but the choreography. Like I think, especially in that particular choreography where the stage is custom made for all of these different pieces to happen, y'all make it look so easy. But what would you want people to know about just delivering that performance every night?
That it's like being a professional athlete, that you have to listen. Listen, like Judge Judy says, put your listening ears on. Put your listening ears on. Because if you don't listen, you'll miss one thing. Like if the turntable's going counterclockwise and you have to step onto it with your right, or you have to step onto it going this way, step on with your right foot. If you step on with the other, it might pull an adductor muscle.
Oh, geez.
Because you might jerk. Just little things. Or you learn by watching. So watch and listen. Especially, I would say that to young performers who think they're on their space machines. They think they got it. They think YouTube's going to tell them how to do it. No, if you want to be on stage, you watch, you listen, you learn, you ask questions of people who've done it before you. And take care of yourself. Go to the gym. My piano, Rick right here with his back to us, he's playing piano in the show. He was in the gym at 7 o'clock this morning. Keep yourself.
Yeah,
you can't do
ready.
this job without going to the gym.
No.
Or yoga, whatever you do.
Yeah.
To get your mind right and your mind, body, soul. Those are the things I would say you have to.
Yeah. So when you're taking care of yourself, and one thing you mentioned earlier that I've heard before from Maria Howell, who we've had on the show, and she's incredible. But she said, "I'm going to ask my questions, and I'm not going to be intimidated to ask questions." So one thing that you mentioned is not being rushed and making sure that you got to ask the questions that you needed to. So what would you tell someone younger? I know that you love making space for them in your shows, but not every acting environment might be the environment that you bring to the stage. So how would you tell them to be respectful of the space around them, but also still ask the questions they need to perform their best?
Well, I'll say the real thing. Not every working environment is going to provide you with everything that you want and need, young folks. And that doesn't mean that you need to be triggered or whatever the word of the day is that crumbles you down. There will be some situations in life where it's not how you want it to be. And you have to figure out how to navigate that and say, well, what am I learning from this situation? You know, I'm learning that I don't want to accept this treatment down the road, or I'm learning that I should leave now, or I'm learning that maybe I'm interpreting it a certain way and I should really just take a minute and assess the situation. It might not be as bad as I think.
Right.
So I guess I would say if you're not in an environment where your questions are welcomed, still write them down. And maybe, you know, go call up Jana and say, hey, I can't get this response at work. What do you think? There's always ways to get your questions answered. Yes, that's what I'd say to them.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice because, you know, we want people to feel successful, and something that again, I'm going to brag about you is the fact that you make space for that next generation, that next collaborator. And I think that beautifully leads us, because I love a good segue, into what you've created in what's being called your most personal show, your most personal cabaret ever. But also, I think it's incredible that you decided to bring this to Charlotte and give people an opportunity to be on stage with you, who are young, who are in the arts. And the way I phrased it earlier was not as just like flower number 4, you know, not as just like someone in the corner, but really giving them responsibility, really giving them parts and feeling in what you're writing. So when you wrote Immediate Family, can I tell a little story on you that I heard on the internet?
Yes.
That,
if it's on the internet, sure, because people can find it anyway.
That you wound up writing this because you wanted to talk about it in a drama class, and then you said, yeah, I'll show you guys tomorrow, and you had to go home and write one?
Yeah, that's pretty close. I was in a theater company.
Nothing like volunteering yourself for something to spark up a deadline.
Yeah, I volunteered, or I volunteered to lie. But I knew the play existed in me somewhere. I just didn't know I was going to have to write it overnight and show it the next day. But my pride got the best of me. I didn't take my own advice that I just gave you all, and instead of assessing the situation and thinking about what would I do different down the line, I just blurted out, I've got to play.
I got to play too.
And I got to play too. And they were very receptive. Oh, you do? Well, yeah, sure. Let's see it. It can be a part of the thing. Well, I'll show it to you tomorrow. And when I wrote myself into a corner.
Yeah.
I wrote myself out of a corner.
But that turned into a beautiful play that I'm pretty sure got asked back 2-3 times when it was here in Charlotte, and like you said, you might be bringing it back. And there was another ask that you put in there, and it was working with Felicia Rashad, which I think is incredible. How does a partnership like that come to be?
I said yes to life. I was asked to be in the workshop of a new musical. I didn't have anything to do, so I said, okay. And I arrived the first day of the workshop, and there she was. She was in it too. She was friends with either the director or the producer. And I was like, oh, wow. And then I'm looking in the script, and like my 2 little scenes were both with her. And I was like, oh, wow. And because of the life, I had taken time away from the Obama stuff. So this was all happening at the same time. And because of that life, I was just like, oh, okay, that's her.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the workshop, we kind of knew each other a little because we had to work on these scenes. And her email was on the contact sheet. So I just went, oh, hey, I wrote this play. Would you read it?
What's the worst thing that could happen?
She wouldn't read it.
Wouldn't read it.
Or it would never get to her. That email was her assistant's email, and it would never get to her. It probably is, you know. It got to her. She read it, and off we went.
Yeah. So when you say yes to life constantly, when you say yes to that ask, and then you create an Immediate Family, and now we're talking about your cabaret, what do you want people to feel like they want to say yes to afterwards?
Well, that's what this cabaret is about. It's called Breaking Free. And for those who don't know, during Immediate Family last summer here, I broke my tibial plateau, broke my knee basically, here in Charlotte. Thanks a lot, Charlotte.
And still did all the press.
And I still did all the press, hobbling into her studio.
Wheeled in there just like a champ.
But the way that the city of Charlotte healed me Atrium Health, shout out to Atrium Health. I know we're not shouting out a lot of medical and insurance institutions, but they were so great to me. I want to shout out the system here, so helpful. My nurse was so loving and stayed personal and, tracked me down, made sure I was doing okay. I started thinking, what is community? And looking at what's happening in the world, in particular our cities, Chicago, Charlotte, now Minneapolis. We can't silo off. Mm-hmm. We need to stay in community and communion. So this show was breaking free, breaking down, breaking away, breaking up. All the things that break you, that we try to be so tough and don't let anybody know that we're vulnerable. Mm-hmm. But like the Japanese art form, kintsugi, where something breaks and they use this gold lacquer to just fix the cracks and put it together, and now it's a new piece of art. That's what we all need to look at ourselves as. Mm-hmm. We have scars. We have, I don't want, kid. You know how kids run around. Look at my cast. Mm-hmm. Kid, we got to think like kids. They're so like, look at me. My arm broke.
Right.
Sign the cast.
Sign my cast.
And when
Getting
they
in
get
the
it
most
off, they
neon
put the
color.
cast on the shelf and save it forever, because it means I was broken, but now I'm better. And look at my scar. Look at my scar. It gives you a story as a human. So this whole cabaret is about how things break but come back together, and how communities can be shattered, but it makes us more beautiful if we don't just toss it away.
Right.
And if we say, let's put this back together, no one's ever going to take us apart forever. So that's what I'm trying to do, and that's why I wanted to use some local youth more than just as window dressing. I mean, there's parts in the show where they're singing solos and I'm backstage. Yeah. They take over on certain parts of the show, because I also just want to highlight that the children will lead us if we let them. Mm-hmm. We got to listen to them though, and let them, because they'll make mistakes and they don't care. Mm-hmm. Me and Yaz are the ones who will mess up and be like, right. I can't believe I missed that note.
Yeah. And we're still talking about it 3 weeks later. I can't believe I did that. We're calling our mom to talk about it. Like, that's me. Like, boy, I hate the phrase beat a horse to death, but like, that's exactly what I'll do if I messed up, And mind you, if younger me, like, I would have been like, but did you see me? My costume was so sparkly.
Did you see that? Did you see that backflip I did? Did you see this? So it's interesting. So I want to learn from them. And their names are Jada Rankin, Harold Garcia, and Jared Garcia, by the way.
Fantastic. So talking about that cabaret, and something that you just mentioned in there is the breaking and how we come back stronger. I mean, and you even referencing breaking your knee. So a bone is the same. When you break a bone, it actually heals back stronger because of that scar tissue, that calcification. So
I sure hope so.
When you look at, yes, manifesting
I hope you're right about that.
Manifesting that. But when you look at moments that could have broken you, but you actually got to break away from those moments, how did that go into bringing all of this to the stage?
It most inserted itself in my song choices in the show. I thought I was just thinking to myself, how many ways are there to break? There's literal breaking, bone. There's heartbreak. There's that just broke my mind into a million pieces. Or my soul is questioning, what's happening in the world is breaking my spirit. So I was just thinking about different ways of breaking. And then I come from a generation of like the best songwriters of all time. I was in a nice little pocket of my parents listened to Stevie Wonder and Gladys Knight, so that's what was playing in our basement. And then as I grew up, the songwriting, Sade, George Michael, Tears for Fears, the melodies, Phil Collins, Genesis, Bruce Hornsby, James Taylor. I'm hinting at some of the songs you're going to hear in the show. Fleetwood Mac, where they told stories in song, and they weren't afraid to sing about my heart is broken, but I'm going to be okay. Or Joe Jackson, always something breaking us into, those songs were out there. So that's how it inserted itself. I said, how can I find the set list that's perfect for talking about some Depeche Mode? You're going to get a little Depeche Mode?
I love that. I love also that you referenced so many people who not only were their songs amazing, but can we just shout out that era of music videos? Like, the editing was unmatched at that time, which I absolutely loved.
That was the way to promote back then.
Right.
Nowadays it's I have 8 wives and I 37 kids, and what am I watching? Yeah.
We're watching your cabaret. We're not gonna be watching that.
It's
gonna be great.
Good.
So when we're bringing it back to Charlotte, and when you're looking at what you're going to say yes to next, is it too early to ask you that question?
It's not too early. I still have to be a little cagey, but I'm going to say yes to coming back to Charlotte as my second artistic home and bringing some other pieces here. I got to get permission from Tom Gabbard, who's the CEO of Blumenthal Arts, but I think we're on the same page, and I'm going to make Charlotte more of a laboratory for new things that I try. It's harder to try my new stuff in Chicago or New York. New York has become... And I want to be kind because it's no one's fault. It's the economy the way it is. Like, and Carrie Coon was just talking about it. You got to put a star in it, or you don't get to do the show on Broadway, or you have to be a star, or you can't be in a show on Broadway.
Well, I mean, the recent article about the economics of art. I mean,
economics.
we know that's the reality. So I mean, that's another reason like why I'm always here telling people like if you want to see more art, you're going to have to buy more art. You're going to have to invest in more art.
Invest in it.
And invest in the actors and the performances. So when you, like you said, creating a living laboratory, just like Community Matters Cafe, it's a living laboratory.
Right.
So how can the community step up and support those dreams, those visions for you?
They already are, and that's why I keep coming here. I was saying to one of my two colleagues back there, Charlotte, this is not like, oh, I'm doing Charlotte a favor. It's not like that. The audiences here are very discerning, and I don't know if that's what people would expect. There's a fable about the South. That they're not sophisticated when it comes to the arts. It's a lie.
Yeah.
The audiences for Immediate Family were age demographics from 80 to 16, all different races, genders, sexualities, and they were all in the audience at the same time. And Tom would talk to me about how he was worried, but I almost wanted to watch the audience more than the play because it's a sophisticated audience. It knows what's funny. It knows when it's time to be serious. It gets the bigger picture. So to me, it isn't that I'm doing anyone favors. I think I'm pretty smarty pants to come here to try out new things because Charlotte will tell you that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Oh, we see what you're trying to do there.
Yeah.
Maybe. So I'm excited to come here. I think a lot of people are going to cities this size. A lot of us who are like, Broadway, movies, TV. Come here. Charles Randolph Wright is starting a studio here, and we're working on 2 television shows here. Okay, I just broke another story.
Breaking news.
Sorry, Charles, if I wasn't supposed to say anything.
But
we're working on some TV stuff here too.
But I think that's incredible because I think it just there's so many people who love what Broadway brings, but we don't necessarily just want it to be a location in one city. We want that to be accessible to everyone because not everyone can even get to New York. But hey, they can get to Blumenthal, they can get to Belk, they can get to Booth. So I just want to thank you for bringing so much of that here and being so open and saying yes to Charlotte. You've said yes to so many things in life.
And Charlotte has said yes to me too.
Listen, and you just have to say yes. So as I close this out, I want to ask you 2 questions. If you were just talking to someone here and there's always that hesitation to say yes because maybe we didn't have that really life-changing moment of coming back to life, of getting that second chance. Maybe we're just feeling a little scared. I started this because I wanted to surround myself with people who said yes more, who brewed really beautiful, dynamic, kick-ass moments. Like, what would you tell them?
I would say that the fear that you experience that catches your heart or catches your breath when you're faced with that decision whether to say yes or not, it's a passing thing. So don't let that push you away. Again, take your time, breathe through it, be calm, maybe say, let me think about it, so you can go away and assess it in real time. We're so much in a hurry these days, and I get it. These space machines, they make us think life is just going so fast.
Right.
That's not real. So I would say, don't let your fear overcome you. Let it be like what I tell kids. We're going to a master class right after this. When they talk about the nerves before going on stage and the fear about doing things, I say fear, that means you're alive. But you need to put the fear in the passenger seat, put on the seatbelt and say, I'm driving this car. I want you to come with me because you are a part of me, but you're not going to overcome me.
Right.
That's what I would say.
That is a beautiful way to put it because we are so quick to get out of that discomfort zone.
Oh my God.
Like, gotta get away from it, gotta get away. Because no one likes sitting in the ick. Like, we don't like sitting in the discomfort. But just when I see you move and through space and like you're always fun and you're always exciting, but I never see you reactive. You're always very interactive, which is something I just admire about you. And like you said, that space and that presence. So I'm just really happy that we got to share this time. And I never let any guest go without asking them, since this is Coffee and Conversation, what fills your cup at the end of the day?
And you don't mean like, what am I drinking right now?
Right. Even though both shout out to the Dirty Chai fam over here.
Yeah, the Iced Dirty Chai family. What fills my cup at the end of the day? Ooh, come on. Now you got me. And I even researched.
This is such a win for
I
a
even researched her clips, and I was ready for this, and then I completely forgot. And then I said, "Don't prepare too much."
So we were both just on different computers, like looking each other up, like little internet
conversations clips. Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, I bet she's gonna ask me that," but I still wanted to tell myself, "Don't prepare." And I guess there I go. What fills my cup is knowing that every day I woke up and didn't know what was going to happen, and I got through the day. And I'm here, I'm alive, I'm watching Netflix. I'm on my couch alone. But just knowing that I'm courageous enough to wake up every morning and not necessarily know what's going to happen, and get to the end of the day and say, well, that was an interesting day. That fills my cup. Yeah. That it never goes the way I think it's going to go.
Right.
And I like that.
Thank you for saying yes to this.
Thank you for having me.
It's like, you're welcome back anytime. Everybody, I would encourage you and all of us to be a little bit more just like tall power Paul over here and just say yes to life. Please go out there, do amazing things, and brew something beautiful. To everybody out there, thank you so much for joining me for Coffee and Conversations. Now, if you want more stories of motivation, inspiration, and empowerment that can fill up your cup when it's empty, no matter where you are, I invite you to subscribe to our channel for more.